To start. Hey, so Attorney LaKanya Murray, the small business attorney, helping clients throughout the United States with trademarks, copyright, and business development. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I just appreciate you guys joining me every week for these videos. And what I really wanted to discuss today are contracts. You know, contracts. People hear about contracts. If you follow me, you know that I've been talking about contracts all the time. I think that it's very important that you have whatever understanding you have with that other party in writing, okay? Keeping things in writing and have it in writing keeps the parties honest. And also cuts down on confusion, you know. So if someone has, you know, they think one thing and you think another thing, you just go to the written agreement and what does it say? That's what you agreed to. But because that's what you agreed to, it's very important to include everything that you need into that written document. Because if you have a written document and it addresses some things and maybe it leaves some things out, you could be just held strictly to what's in that document. But some of the things that we want to talk about, that we want to address in those contracts, you know, if you leave them out, they can really cost you some money because it's dealing with money. So how do you deal with money in contracts? So 3 things that I really want to talk to you guys about today are, let me see, I have notes, is being very clear on what the parties are agreeing to, being very clear on payment terms, and then the requirement of a deposit or a retainer. So that's what we're going to jump into, and we're going to talk about it really quick. So the first thing we're going to talk about, we're just going to start at the top, defining what each party is responsible for. A lot of times in contracts, what happens is, let's say you're a graphic designer. You say what you're responsible for. You let the other party know what they're getting from you. But if you're a graphic designer and your client needs to get you some things in order for you to do your work, you need to put that in the contract. Okay? Because if you're unable to complete your job because of something they failed to do, that'll make them in breach of contract and not you. Okay? So if they're responsible for getting color palettes, they're responsible for getting, you know, different things to you, make sure that's in the agreement. Very important. Don't just have it one-sided where all the work is on you, because when you have a contract, there is, you know, quid pro quo, something for something. Everybody has responsibilities, and so you need to make sure that you have that in writing. One thing that I also always include in my contracts is making sure that the client knows it's their responsibility to return my phone calls, to keep me updated with their contact information, because oftentimes what happens is the client will get a new phone number, they don't answer their emails, and now you're stuck and you can't work, you can't close out this account because you can't get a hold of anybody. So you want to make sure that you're very clear on what the parties' responsibilities are. Okay? The second thing you want to do is you want to, when you address payments, you want to also address payment terms. So don't just say that they owe you $500, or don't just say that your rate is $275 an hour. You need to go and add a little more detail to that. You need to let them know when to pay you, how to pay you, what's going to happen if they're late with paying you. At what point will you be able to get out of the contract because they haven't paid you without it being breach of contract on you? You know, if you just say they owe you $500, okay, do they pay that before the project starts, in the middle of the project, halfway through the project, you know, at the end of the project, you know, 2 months after the project? When you're getting your money, be very clear on that information. You need to know when you're getting your money, and then if they pay you, then that also helps, gives a motivation for them to pay you on time, because now if you have something in your contract that speaks to what happens if they pay you late, they're going to try not to pay you late. They want to pay you on time so they don't get whatever penalties or fees that are associated with late payments. Okay? And I'll talk about that in a minute. So the third thing is that this is really important for people in business. The requirement of a deposit or a retainer. When people come to you for your services, a lot of people out there are in service business. So when people come to you to retain your services, you are now taking yourself and making yourself unavailable to take work from someone else. If you're just saying that my fee is $600 and then they pay you at the end or halfway in the front and halfway in the middle without addressing the fact that you can possibly be out of money if they fail to pay you or if they quit this contract, you're really doing yourself a disservice, okay? So what you need to do is discuss, okay, so these are my payment terms. You pay me on the 1st, the 15th, the 30th. Any cancellation after a certain time, any money you paid to that point belongs to me. And that's great. But what if they haven't paid any money? And now you're just out. So I think it's very important to require some sort of deposit before you start any kind of work. And it needs to be non-refundable. Because like I said, you're taking yourself off the market. You're making it so that you are unable to accept more clients because you have agreed to help this person over here. But if they don't keep up their part of the bargain, the only person that's going to be out of something is you. So your contract needs to address what happens if they cancel their contract, if they decide to stop paying you. Maybe they made 5 payments and they have 7 more to go and you've been working. Is any of that money refundable? Be very clear, because I came across, and I see it often, where people are not clear on things like that. And now, because you are not clear and in writing, people want to litigate. People want to sue and go to court and get lawyers involved. But if you have a well-drafted contract in the beginning, you can avoid that. Okay? So again, the 3 things that you really must include and discuss in your contract are the parties' responsibilities, who's doing what. And just because they're hiring you to do the work doesn't mean that all the responsibility falls on you. Oftentimes your clients have responsibilities too. There's something that they need to do in order for you to do your work. Make sure you include that in the contract. The second thing is making sure that the payment terms are clear. Don't just say that they're going to pay you X amount of money. Don't just say that your rate is such, a certain amount per hour. When do you want to get paid? Be very clear on when you want to get paid so there is no confusion, okay? And in addition to when you want to be paid, what happens if they don't pay you? What happens if they pay you late? Let them know up front, because what you can't do if you have a written contract is say, you owe me $500 on the 1st, and they pay on the 15th, and now charge them a $50 late fee. You know why you can't do that? Because you never told them in the beginning that you were going to do that. So be very clear in the beginning, in the contract, on how do you expect to be paid and what's going to happen if they don't pay you. The final thing is the requirement of a deposit or some sort of non-refundable retainer. And you need to be clear that this money is non-refundable. Let them know that, hey, my services are in high demand, and by accepting this work from you, it's going to take me off the market and make me not available for someone else. And because of that, and for that reason, I require a deposit. It's non-refundable, and a lot of times your deposit, and this is another thing you have to know, your deposit does not always have to be applied to the payment. If you have a $150 deposit, it didn't have to, and your fee is $600, that $150 does not have to be applied to the $600. It can just be your retainer for being available and taking yourself off the market until somebody's ready to hire you. Because a lot of times what happens, let's say you are a videography, you record videos and things, but someone doesn't need your services until June of next year, and your fee is $5,000. Okay, this is put off for a year, your fee is $5,000, and maybe they do pay part of it up front. But don't you want to make sure that you're covered? Don't you want to charge them something to make sure that, hey, just because I'm doing this and it's in the future, if you cancel, this money is not refundable. Because now that I booked, that date is off the books. And people, depending on when you cancel, people get those type of services in advance. So depending on when they're canceled, you're just out of luck. So you just need to address those things. You need to sit down and really think about how your clients really affect your business as it comes to money, and address those things in your contracts.